Hi, I thought I'd show you today how to do some curved piecing. In this case we're going to put some curves into a block. It's a traditional block. It's often referred to as a Drunkards Path because it can create quite a wonky path. I'm assuming that's where its name came from, as somebody who's perhaps been drinking too much might not be able to walk in a straight line. So we're walking in a curved line here. So I've made the positive and negative. You can use different colours, they can be scrappy. You can of course make this as an applique block, but today I'm going to show you how to piece that curve in so that you get a nice pieced edge in there. So I've actually already cut my shapes out. There are rulers and templates that you can get. You can get dies for them if you've got a die cut machine. I've got some templates here just made from template plastic so that you can trace around these and cut them out. So the two shapes, because of the seam allowance, don't make a square at this stage, only when they're joined together. So if you're wanting to get the positive and negative out of a colour, you might want to cut some squares a bit larger. In this case, this is going to finish at a 4.5 inch, it'll be measuring 4.5 inch square. It'll be a finished 4-inch block. I would suggest if you're trying to get both pieces out of one fabric, you might start with something like a 6-inch square to make that size. But of course it's going to vary on what size block you make. But I thought I'd show you how to do the curved piecing part today. It's kind of fun, so I've got a piece ready here to show you, but I'm going to do one here. So I've already got my pieces cut. This is my outside corner and this is my inside quarter circle. So initially what I think that is a good idea is to fold that in half so that the little corners meet, and do a little finger press in there or mark it in some way. You can put a pin in. I've actually also gone ahead and put a little pencil mark so that you can see where that is. And the same thing with your quarter circle, fold it in half and do a little finger press line or mark it with a pin or a pencil. I've gone ahead with my pencil. And now what we want to do is pin these together. We do need to pin, yes, even I'm going to use pins. So what we want to do is write some fabrics right sides together, and we want to put the little folded mark right over the other folded mark. So if you lay them like that, it looks a little strange. The edges are absolutely level right there where they meet. These finger press folds should follow the same line. It's a diagonal there. And then with some pins, I'm going to just pop a pin in there right on that mark at the halfway point with those edges level. And I'm actually just going to double pin. It's quite helpful for this sort of thing to double pin if you can, if your pins are long enough and also flat enough. You can get flathead pins. These ones work really well so that you can leave them in while you sew. That would be really helpful. It's not essential, but it does help. So the next pin I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this raw edge, the short edge there, round to that raw edge and line the edges up so that the points match and the edge matches. And again, I'm going to put a pin in and I'm going to double pin. So all the pinning I'm doing will be double pinning on this particular exercise. Now this is a little bit floppy here, that's okay, leave that for the moment. Come around this side and do exactly the same with this little edge here. So I'm lining up the raw edge there, I'm lining up the little end of the curve and point just there. And again, a double pin straight in. It's handy to pin from the curved edge in, and then you can leave the pins in while you sew, and that works really well. So now we need some more pins because this is a bit floppy. It's going to move around if we leave it like it is. So I'm going to suggest that you just physically, you can mark it if you want to, but I'm just going to put 2 pins in between, roughly. It doesn't have to be exact. What does need to be pretty accurate is keeping those raw edges together. So I'm just going to come along here and I'm going to double pin that, and the piece in front of me is getting a little bit floppy here because it's on the curve. The piece behind is staying nice and flat. And I'm going to come along again and put another double pin in so that you can see that those raw edges are staying together quite nicely there. That's the key to all of this sort of thing. Because we've cut it on a curve, this edge is quite stretchy, so it'll allow us to do this sort of thing. And it's one of the reasons we need the pins to hold it all together, because everything just wants to move. So there I've got my pins in. This is a very floppy looking piece. On the back it's looking quite nice and flat. We've got a nice curve, even edge matching there. So now we're pretty ready to go to the sewing machine. I've already got another one ready here so I can chain piece, so I can show you how that works, just the same as normal. So just take a little bit of care. Regular sewing foot, well, I've got a 1/4 inch foot on my sewing machine. If you've got one, that's quite helpful, so that you're sewing 1/4 inch in from that curved edge, and just keep it feeding round nicely. So I'm just going to start at the beginning as we would normally. This is just my 1/4 inch seam all the way around, and I'm going to leave my pins in. So just take it slowly. You don't want to be damaging anything with those pins, but it's quite okay to stitch right over the top. And on this edge, however you're lining up your 1/4 inch, whether it's your foot edge, then just keep an eye on that everything is staying nice and even over there. Just take your time sewing that curve. It really doesn't take so long once you've got it all pinned. And the double pinning just helps hold everything, because it all wants to bubble up. And again, you should be coming off that edge there. Now I'm just going to feed my next one in. I've got it all ready here. Make sure those edges are sitting nice and level to start. And same thing, just follow round with that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Some people are a little wary of curves. They don't need to be. They just need to be treated, I guess, appropriately, in the sense of allowing for the fact that they are a curve, and they do need those pins or something to hold them in place. So if you had a larger curve, like if you were working on a larger block so that your curve was larger, I would be suggesting you add in a few more pins, but on something this size, that is enough. So I'm going to pull those pins out now because it's all sewn in nicely. And we're just about done. So those pins are not necessary, but it's still sitting nicely even now that we've sewn it. And now it's sitting a little bit peculiarly because of all this curving that's going on. And so I'm just going to press it now to show you how I press. And we're just about done. Doesn't take long. So you can press the seams whichever way you like. I would probably press them towards a stronger colour if there is one. And because we've gone to all this trouble of having it all sitting really nicely, you can just press it from the right side and press that seam nice and flat, and it should all just sit very nicely for you. And I can do the same on this one, but I'm going to press the curve this time. So this one I've pressed the curve into the circular piece. This one I'm going to press it out to the outside piece, just to show you that it doesn't matter. But if you're joining them together and you want seams to go in different directions, if the seams were matching and things, it does enable you to do the nestling of seams, which is always a nice little thing to be able to do. So that one, as you can see, I've pressed that seam out, and that one I have pressed in. And I'll just get rid of the iron so that we can have a look at these done. So if you're going to use a few of these together, you might find that you can do all sorts of interesting things. They will form a circle, or something as close to a circle as makes no difference. You can have different pathway things going on. If I can get this sorted, and I'm going to have trouble because that's what I do, but you can see how you can get a pathway going through there. There's lots of ways of setting these little blocks. As I said, you can make them into circles, you make them into half circles, you can just treat them as 1/4 circles. There's just lots and lots of different things. It's a very versatile block. It's a little bit like half square triangles that you can set in lots of different ways. So I just thought I'd show you all about the curved piecing, so that hopefully takes some of the fear out of that for people, because it's not something to be frightened of. It's just something to be just taken a little bit slowly, pin it well, stitch it carefully, and then you can press it. Because it's all on curves, it allows that fullness just to ease as you're pressing it out. You don't need to clip any seams or do anything like that. And I think that's kind of fun. and I look forward to seeing what you make. So that was it for some curved piecing on a Drunkards Path block. Thank you.